Feeling history. Want to know what it was like to watch an ancient Greek tragedy on stage in 400 BC? Well, I do too. Lucky for you, I'm bored and obsessed with the ancient world. I stumbled across a genius idea that I felt was worth a shot. Bear with me. For this to work in any way, please follow through with steps 1 and 2. First, just read a short summary of a well-known tragedy, one that would have been acted out thousands of times in Greece and the surrounding areas. And who knows where else. We do know it made its way into Turkey. And then click the link to listen to a melody. That's it. To get a true, emotionally charged tug at the heartstrings, you should really try to hear, well, read, technically, the story. Don't rush or skim through the article because it is only a summary, it's not very long. The thought process behind my ingenious idea is for you to experience the emotion behind the story. This is the same type of raw, human emotion the people watching it thousands of years ago would have felt. This story, coupled with the link to the song I will place below, will definitely affect the majority of you. How long it haunts your thoughts is completely in your hands. The story of Orpheus and Eurydice, told by Apollonius of Rhodes, Virgil and Ovid. On his mother's side he was more than mortal. He was the son of one of the Muses and a Thracian prince. His mother gave him the gift of music, and Thrace, where he grew up, fostered it. The Thracians were the most musical of the peoples of Greece. But Orpheus had no rival there or anywhere except the gods alone. There was no limit to his power when he played and sang. No one and nothing could resist him. In the deep still woods upon the Thracian mountains, Orpheus with his singeing lyre led the trees, led the wild beasts of the wilderness. Everything animate and inanimate followed him. He moved the rocks on the hillside and turned the courses of the rivers. When he first met and how he wooed the maiden he loved, Eurydice, we are not told, but it is clear that no maiden he wanted could have resisted the power of his song. They were married, but their joy was brief. Directly after the wedding, as the bride walked in a meadow with her bridesmaids, a viper stung her and she died. Orpheus' grief was overwhelming. He could not endure it. He determined to go down to the world of death and try to bring Eurydice back. He said to himself, with my song, I will charm Demeter's daughter, I will charm the Lord of the Dead, moving their hearts with my melody. I will bear her away from Hades. 2. He dared more than any other man ever dared for his love. He took the fearsome journey to the underworld. There he struck his lyre, and at the sound all that vast multitude were charmed to stillness. O gods who rule the dark and silent world, to you all born of a woman needs must come. All lovely things at last go down to you. You are the debtor who is always paid. A little while we tarry upon earth. Then we are yours forever and forever. But I seek one who came to you too soon. The bud was plucked before the flower bloomed. I tried to bear my loss. I could not bear it. Love was too strong a god, O king. You know if that old tale men tell is true, how once the flowers saw the rape of Proserpine, then weave again for sweet Eurydice. 3. Life's pattern that was taken from the loom too quick. See, I ask a little thing, only that you will lend, not give, her to me. She shall be yours when her year's span is full. No one under the spell of his voice could refuse him anything. He drew iron tears down Pluto's cheek, and made hell grant what love did seek. They summoned Eurydice and gave her to him, but upon one condition, that he would not look back at her as she followed him, until they had reached the upper world. So the two passed through the great doors of Hades to the path which would take them out of the darkness, climbing up and up. He knew that she must be just behind him, but he longed unutterably to give one glance to make sure. But now they were almost there, the blackness was turning gray, now he had stepped out joyfully into the daylight. Then he turned to her. It was too soon, she was still in the cavern. He saw her in the dim light, and he held out his arms to clasp her, but on the instant she was gone. She had slipped back into the darkness. All he heard was one faint word, farewell. Desperately he tried to rush after her and follow her down, but he was not allowed. The gods would not consent to his entering the world of the dead a second time, while he was still alive. He was forced to return to the earth alone, in utter desolation. Then he forsook the company of men. He wandered through the wild solitudes of Thrace, comfortless except for his lyre, playing, always playing, and the rocks and the rivers and the trees heard him gladly, his only companions. But at last a band of Maenads left square bracket women right square bracket came upon him. They slew the gentle musician, tearing him limb from limb, borne long past the river's mouth onto the Lesbian shore, nor had it suffered any change from the sea when the Muses found it and buried it in the sanctuary of the island. His limbs they gathered and placed in a tomb at the foot of Mount Olympus, and there to this day the nightingales sing more sweetly than anywhere else. 4. Another short version. Eurydice and Orpheus were young and in love. So deep was their love that they were practically inseparable. So dependent was their love that each felt they could not live without the other. These young lovers were very happy and spent their time frolicking through the meadows. One day Eurydice was gaily running through a meadow with Orpheus when she was bitten by a serpent. The poison of the sting killed her and she descended to Hades immediately. 5. Orpheus was son of the great Olympian god Apollo. In many ways Apollo was the god of music and Orpheus was blessed with musical talents. Orpheus was so sad about the loss of his love that he composed music to express the terrible emptiness which pervaded his every breath and movement. He was so desperate and found so little else meaningful, that he decided to address Hades. As the overseer of the underworld, Hades' heart had to be hard as steel, and so it was. Many approached Hades to beg for loved ones back and as many times were refused. But Orpheus' music was so sweet and so moving that it softened the steel-hearted heart of Hades himself. Hades gave permission to Orpheus to bring Eurydice back to the surface of the earth to enjoy the light of day. There was only one condition, Orpheus was not to look back as he ascended. He was to trust that Eurydice was immediately behind him. It was a long way back up and just as Orpheus had almost finished that last part of the track, he looked behind him to make sure Eurydice was still with him. At that very moment, she was snatched back because he did not trust that she was there. When you hear music which mourns lost love, it is Orpheus' spirit who guides the hand of the musicians who play it. He was never allowed to visit Hades alive again, and he was overcome with grief. Click the link to experience the sound of the tragedy. Video YouTube. You won't be disappointed. Video number 2. Thanks for going on the journey with me. 6.